Hey guys, today I want to talk about asthma and what it feels like and how it's ruining my life. And I am not exaggerating, it is ruining my life. In 2014, we became aware of chikungunya. And then life was okay. It wasn't great, but I was teaching 6 days a week. I was able to afford to buy a bottle of wine every now and again. I had my own apartment. It was good. And then one morning I woke up and my toe hurt. A toe that I'd bumped a while back that I thought might be broken. And it just really hurt. And my mom's finger really hurt. And we realized we had chikungunya. But I kept working throughout the entire thing, the fever, the body aches, and everything. At that point, I was running at least 3 days a week, and I was able to squeeze in a long run of like 8 miles at least once a week. I was really feeling good about learning to live with fibromyalgia, making a living despite losing my job. Just I was just feeling good. And then I think it was maybe like November ish when that happened. But I just kept going. About 2 weeks after, I started feeling better. And then all the pain came back, and it was just like really bad for a few months. But I just kept going because that's who I am. I keep going. So here we are. A f- I won Young Entrepreneur of the Year. I went to visit my friends in Wisconsin, and then I we were walking. It was freezing cold outside, and it was just too much for me. I walked too fast, and um my body just was like, okay, this is as much as you can take, which was fine. It was fibromyalgia. Sometimes I push myself too much, and then I'm just dead. um I rested, I took a bath, I felt better. In those days, if something hurt, I'd take a bath, I'd rest, take a nap, and I would feel refreshed, and I'd wake up and I'd feel better. And then I started having trouble like breathing. So I thought maybe, where I was living was just a little too dusty, so I moved to somewhere like in the bush basically with cleaner air. And it was okay until I went to Barbados for Caribbean Youth Entrepreneurship Summit, and I they accidentally put dairy in my omelet. And you guys, my throat started closing, but I got some Benadryl right away, and I was coughing all day Friday. I was kind of out of it. My friends were like, Mo, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm like, dude, I nearly died this morning. I am having trouble breathing. And I didn't notice till like a few days ago that when my allergies are acting up, I just stop talking because it's hard to talk without being consciously aware of it. So that's that. So that point, I went to the doctor the Saturday after I had a regular appointment, and I was still like coughing, and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I told her what happened. She's like, "You're still coughing?" I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "Since when are you so allergic to dairy?" And I said, "Well, I don't eat dairy, and before it would just be like a headache, a rash, maybe throwing up, but now my throat's closing." So she gave me steroids in case I have a bad reaction again. And then I kept going, kept teaching as much as I could. Um, I had okay, bear with me one moment. Okay, so then I had another reaction later that year to someone's perfume, and I just was like couldn't even sit up. Um, and then there was the hum reaction where I nearly died. Like snot was coming out my nose, water coming out. I was like, okay, but I still didn't put everything together. Then in January 2016, my muscles started working different. Like they wouldn't respond when I would send messages to them. That's the best way I could explain it. Until one day I slipped and fell. It took me a few months to get over the. I, here's typical move. I slipped, I fell, flat on my butt in a muddy track, got up, went back home, changed my clothes, went to teach my class, taught my class, but didn't actually do any yoga. And then afterwards, my back was just crazy. So I went to the doctor. She was like, "Your back is in spasm. You need to rest." I went home. And around that time, I was realizing that when I walk, it was just too much. I was not recovering. So I was trying to limit how much I walked as much as possible. So I tried to move again because I had a half a mile walk to the bus from my house. So I moved again, you know, for my health. So I moved, and I didn't have a long commute, and I was doing okay. Then I woke up one night throwing up in the middle of the night, and I was like, "Ooh, this was a good party, y'all." And it wasn't. I hadn't been drinking. There wasn't a party, so I went to the doctor, and at my doctor's office, things were weird, and my doctor wasn't there, and everyone wasn't looking right, and I'm like, okay, something's going on. So I called my client, and I'm like, you know, I'm at the doctor's office and something's up. She's like, she had a stroke. And I'm like, what? My most favorite doctor in the whole wide world had a stroke? This is why I live in this country, because I love my doctor. Anyway, a few months going back and forth trying to figure out what was going on. Like 2 weeks later, I had like dizzy spells. And I went to the doctor and they're like, you have a cold. But I was like, I don't have a cold. She's like, yeah, it's a cold, but it's just in sinus congestion. I'm like, okay. Then I had like a really bad belly ache. Went and did a CT scan. I'm allergic to the stuff they give you for the CT scan. Got off the thing and like was collapsing. They had to give me injections and stuff. Okay. I'm like, okay, we're doing this. That, and I'm like still working as hard as I can because I love my job. I love teaching. I really am getting emotional in a weird place in here. So I keep going, and then I'm getting more sensitive to perfumes and stuff, and occasionally throwing up until one day someone lit a cigarette on a bus, and I started coughing and couldn't stop. Went into urgent care, and then they had to give me a shot of epi for me to stop coughing. So here I am, right? I'm like, okay, all right, we're going to make this work. So um so that's fine, you know. At that time, like I'd been through a whole bunch of stuff, went back to my rheumatologist, and I'm like, you know what? I was getting better. We found out my B12 was low, my vitamin D was low. I had to take shots. I was like really like dragging. I wasn't recovering. I was in pain all the time. I was weak. I was really, I don't know how I kept going, but I just kept going. Like no matter how much it felt like I would pass out, I know that I don't pass out. So I just kept going. So I'm feeling a little better, a little stronger. My vitamin B levels are back up, and my doctor's recovered from her stroke. By then, it's like 2017. And I go to the doctor. I'm having a retreat. This is doing really well. Like at this point, I'm like, I can make this business work. And I have people calling me all day long to sign up for this 1 day mini retreat. And I'm in the doctor's office and I get a phone call and someone sits next to me while I'm at the phone on the phone, and I'm like, this perfume is making me feel woozy. But I'm on the phone, so I'm trying to be professional with my client. And then I hang up the phone and I'm coughing and I took my medication and I'm like burping, and the physician's assistant is like, "You're going to throw up." I'm like, "No, I took my medication. I'm not going to throw up." No. And then you guys, I throw up and I can't stop coughing. And the doctor comes out and she's like, "You're coughing like this?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I go in and she's like, "Do you have asthma?" I'm like, "No, I don't have asthma." She's like, she listens to my lungs, they're clear. She does a peak flow test and it's good. My peak flow is good, but I'm coughing. Unless I breathe really shallow breaths, I'm coughing. So she's like, she calls and sends for an inhaler. And I use the inhaler and I stop coughing. And she's like, "You have asthma." Sometimes the only sign of asthma is a cough. And I'm like, "Okay, so we can do this." The following week, I have to go to Puerto Rico to get my grandma to bring her back to St. Lucia. And you guys, I got like the worst asthma attack on the plane. And I'm like, okay. So I come back and we're still trying to figure this out, but the asthma is not under control. Like I'm like every other day, I'm coughing, it's awful, it hurts my chest. And my mom comes over and she realizes that my downstairs neighbor has been burning stuff in the middle of the night. I can't smell it, but it makes me stuffy, it makes me have trouble breathing. So long story short, I move again. And the asthma kind of starts to get under control. We do like a whole month of prednisone. I gain 20 pounds in a month, but I'm starting to feel better. So I go home one Saturday after my doctor's appointment. I'm like, okay, this by this time, a lot of stuff, drama in my life. And I'm like, okay, whatever, I'm going to make this work. I'm sleeping there in bed and I'm like, I can make this work. I have asthma. It's under control. I can make this work. And a centipede crawls into my bed and bites me in the butt. In the middle of the night, everyone's busy. My friend's kind of stuck at a party, and she will come back if I need to go to the hospital. But I take a anti-inflammatory, and I'm like, I fall back asleep. I mac the swelling, and in the morning it's so big. It's like I have three butt cheeks, and I don't have any money. So I don't go to the doctor. But on Monday, my mom comes and I go to the doctor. And for the first time in my life, my blood pressure is high. And that was the beginning of it, the beginning of the end. And I still try to keep going. I keep working. I add hikes to what I do. And I'm just trying everything so I can keep making a living. And I realize that like my days get cut back at the resorts. I lose a few private clients, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna move back home to my mom's and I'm gonna figure this out because I realized that just having asthma alone meant between the asthma and having to take really good vitamins and everything, I'm like spending an extra $300 a month. That's $300 that I need to pay my rent and stuff. So I go back home and I'm like, I'm just going to stay with my mom for a while, build up my savings and recoup. So I stay back with my mom, but I'm not getting better, so I have to go overseas to see an allergist. I do that. Figured out my iron is also low, so now I'm taking even more vitamins. And I had to switch to really good quality because they were not going up. My vitamin D was going down while I was taking vitamin D. So, vitamin D and all that stuff. Good stuff, good stuff. Okay. Making it work. So I'm at my mom's. I'm figuring it out. I'm making it work. And that's when I figure out that the asthma is making my back hurt. It stopped being pain in my chest and it started being pain in my back. But I still don't make sense of it, right? So we still keep going. I had to, it was getting really bad. So I had to stop working at one resort, the one where the staff wear perfume so strong that every time I go there, I get an asthma attack. And then this weird thing happens at the other resort, and I don't work there anymore. But I was down to 2 days there, and it was just too much. The commute was too long. It just wasn't worth it. And the economy is shit because Brexit and Trump. So people aren't traveling as much. And like, people don't realize the filtered down effects of stuff like that. Because your life's still okay, but you don't realize that when people travel less, people in countries that depend on tourism. Anyway, that's a whole other story. We're talking about my asthma. So I'm getting these pains in my neck, and I'm at the doctor. I feel like shit, and I tell her about the pain, and we figured out it's because my accessory muscles are breathing for my lungs. So here we are. We figured it out. Why my neck hurts, why my shoulders hurt, and my blood pressure's high again. So I have to go check my blood pressure somewhere. But when I'm not in pain, it's fine. So we're okay. So this is where we are. Ever since Christmas, I've barely been working. And let me tell you what it's like. I don't always cough anymore. So I don't always even know that I'm having an asthma attack. I'll just feel really tired and weak. Because what happens is the other muscles between my ribs, in my neck, you can see it's swollen here, try to breathe for my lungs because my lungs are in distress because there's always smoke outside. We have sargassum seaweed because of climate change, which changes the air quality, which makes it hard for me to breathe. And all of these muscles are not used to breathing for me, and they all hurt. And for days, I'll be in bed with my ribs hurting, my whole body hurting. And then through the pain, I have to remember to use my inhaler, even if it doesn't feel like I'm having trouble breathing. And then the pain goes away. And then, and then I feel better until my stomach starts to feel upset, which is the first sign that something is triggering my allergies again because there's smoke outside or someone's using really strong fabric softener. So that's the hardest part is when I don't realize that those muscles are breathing for me, and then everything hurts. My back hurts, my hips hurt, it hurts to walk, it hurts to sit up. I'm just lying in bed for days and waiting to feel better until I remember to take my inhaler. So that's where I am. Asthma has ruined my life. I can't always leave the house, but I figure something out. I will. I don't know what, but I'll figure something out. Thanks for watching. Sorry for getting emotional, but if you made it this far, you listened to my story. Thank you.